Hi everybody, my name is Brendan Metzko and I am the Artistic Director for the concert band at Blazing River Freedom Band and their chamber groups, as well as a entertainment business master's student at Full Sail University and a freelance composer, conductor, and musician. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to conduct cues. I just went over this with one of my conducting students this week, and so I want to give a very basic overview on how to cue someone in an entrance and when you're working with a band, orchestra, or chorus. In order to do that, you should have a pretty basic grasp first of basic conducting patterns. You should be able to conduct cleanly and easily in 4/4. You should be able to conduct also in 3. If you can conduct an additional time signatures, that would be very helpful. So what I recommend, the easiest way to think about a cue, it requires two things. It requires a gesture and it requires eye contact, because if you don't look at the musician you're trying to cue, then they won't realize that necessarily that they are the person you're trying to communicate with. You always want to make eye contact with someone whenever you're trying to have any communication, especially in conducting. It's vital because there's a sea of people, depending on how large your ensemble is, and you need to make sure a single musician or group of musicians are coming in. So if we look at a basic pattern in 4/4, normally you'll see a lot of conductors conduct both hands. This doesn't give you much room to cue. So I would recommend using, as most conductors do, the right hand alone. And then all you need to do in order to cue someone is to look at them and add a hand right before they come in. In order to do that, you want to not only look at them, but you want to give them their cue one beat before they actually come in. So if they're coming in on a downbeat, you want to give a cue in 4/4. You want to give a cue on beat 4 of the previous measure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we'll come in on 1. In 3/4, this looks this way: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So you're just adding a hand. Usually you want to have your hand in the direction of wherever you're cueing, direction of their eye contact, and you want the response to look like what you're trying to conduct. So we don't want to give a huge cue for something that is supposed to be a soft, gentle entrance, and vice versa. For example, 1, 2, 3. Ta, ta, ta. You may note that sometimes I've picked up the bad habit of cueing with my head as well. That may not be the best choice. I would recommend try to do it with your hands so your face is free to communicate other things. Which brings me to an important point that also came up in my lesson this week, an added bonus, I'll talk about this, is that if something happens in your rehearsal that is not expected, they're not doing what you want them to do, perhaps you should first look. The first place I'd recommend looking is at what you're doing. You may have an extra gesture with your head or shoulders or somewhere that you're not expecting is really communicating for you, and try to identify those gestures. It's always a good idea to conduct in front of a camera or mirror. With mirrors and cell phone cameras and things, that's very easy to do. And before you start identifying someone else as the issue, look towards your own conducting and see if you can resolve it by adjusting what you're doing first. So the next step is to cue on other beats. So for example, if I want an entrance on beat 3 in a 4/4 bar, you subtract 1, so you want to give a cue on 2, the beat before. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And so the ictus, the downbeat, will always be where the entrance is, and the cue will always be a beat before. Hope that makes sense to you. What I encourage you to do now is to find a score for something that you're working on or would like to work on, identify what beat many of the main entrances are on, and then practice conducting those entrances. If something is difficult, the easiest way to get through it is to just do it 100 times till it feels more natural. And that's all for today. Thanks.